Welcome on board, passengers. Thank you for choosing Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 for your trip to Seattle. We're next in line for takeoff and are expected to be in the air soon. We ask that you fasten your seatbelts and secure all baggage. Please have your seats and table trays in the upright position for takeoff. Turn off all personal electronic devices, including laptops and cell phones, and remember that smoking is prohibited on board the aircraft. Enjoy your flight as we go wading into the void.
Hey, Phantom Fam.
Howdy!
It's been a hot minute since I've done a fun little intro. So, I hope you enjoyed that one. As you can guess by now, we're doing something airplane related, which is wild because by the time you're listening to this, I'll have already flown on a whole ass airplane trip to Florida.
Woo!
Woohoo! So let's hope I'm still alive, I guess?
Yeah? I mean, we don't have to say I guess.
So Nat, this is me giving you permission that if I'm dead, you can still post this episode.
You know how fucking funny that would be?
She's like, she died.
She died on the airplane,
Rip,
and we're
here's
doing
an
this episode right now.
Nonetheless, airplanes. What are we covering? Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? Alien sightings? Nope, no, and nada. We are covering the mysterious disappearance, heist, and hijacking of none other than D.B. Cooper.
Do you see my face in the camera right now?
Yeah, you look like a ghost. It's fun.
I look scary. Why?
Natalie is doing her makeup while I record this episode.
We love multitasking queens.
Yes. This is one of those mysteries that just captures your attention and is fully fascinating. So I hope you're ready for this because it's going to be a doozy of twists, turns, and all out what the fuck for about an hour.
Okay, honestly, I've heard about D.B. Cooper, but I don't know, anything about the story.
You're gonna know about the story.
Good.
When I'm done.
Good, that's what we're here for!
But before we cover all that, let's get into the tarot. And, we're deciding, fuck it, let's switch it up a little today. Because ya bitch is doing the oracle and tarot herself today.
Because ya other bitch is lazy.
You know who it is. So, let's get off with the oracle, shall we? We are doing a Compendium of Witches Oracle by Natasha Ilnikic. I think I said her name right. I don't believe she is American, so that name is not... Did you buy this
when we were together at Paracon?
I did. I bought it from the Haunted Emporium at Paracon. Go follow them on social media at Haunted Emporium. Pretty cool lady.
Mm-hmm.
And the card we got is number 55, Autumn.
Ooh!
Right? Isn't she pretty?
She is.
And number 55, Autumn, represents melancholy, decay, and inevitability. Stepping through the misty underbrush, you're enveloped in the sweet smell of change and decay. All around you, the trees are tinged with oranges and browns. The fragrance of mushrooms, wet foliage, and decomposing wood combine with a distant whiff of burning leaves. There's a comfort and melancholy in it. The Autumn card evokes the immutable passage of time and the complex feelings that accompany it. So, those seasons be changing, and that's totally fitting because we just entered September.
Yeah! I'm so ready
Which is
for fall.
the unofficial start of fall.
That's true.
So, perfect timing. And for tarot, we are doing the complete opposite side of the coin. These books do not go together in the slightest, but that is okay. We are going to be doing the Mystic Mondays Tarot.
Okay! Word.
By Grace Duong. And we got the Ace of Cups, but upside down. So this one means release emotional exhaustion and repression. Raw emotions are spilling out, and you're finding it difficult to control your emotions. Intense highs and lows are rocking you off your center, and you're doing your best to stay afloat. Emotions are leaking into every area of your life, flooding them with repressed feelings and unwanted experiences. The pressure is mounting, and you're about to explode. Healing requires the dark, twisty feelings to bubble up to the surface in order for you to let them go. By facing your emotions and releasing them, you'll be able to get through the barriers and create space for new possibilities. Holding on to the past is making you feel emotionally exhausted, and is sucking up your energy. Reevaluate how your uncontrollable emotions are affecting your health and your loved ones. So that's fun.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I kind of feel red a little bit.
For me, those cards go hand in hand. It's all about change, letting the past go, and being ready to change.
Yeah.
So, it's a little fun. Nothing too crazy with those cards, you know? So, what you gonna do? Natalie looks fucking insane. I wish you could see
I'm trying to chisel my features. We going
and I am not.
We going extremo contour mode.
All right. Let's crack this one open, shall we?
I'm ready.
It is a good one. I love a good unsolved mystery, and that's exactly what this one is. So, this one began on the night of November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, in Portland International Airport. A white man, claiming the alias Dan Cooper, used cash to purchase a one-way ticket for Flight 305. This flight was bound for Seattle, Washington, and would take 30 minutes on one of Northwest Orient Airlines vessels. Dan Cooper, a 40-year-old man, was dressed in a business suit, black tie, a raincoat or poncho of sorts, and a white shirt. He had dark hair, brown eyes, and carried a briefcase and a brown paper bag. Initially, he appeared calm and unassuming as he ordered bourbon and soda while the flight was awaiting takeoff. So he's just your average, 40-year-old white man. He's like, yep, going on the plane, gonna get a whiskey and Coke, and I'm gonna fly 30 minutes to Washington.
Okay.
Washington. However, shortly after 2:50 p.m., with a crew of 6 and 37 passengers aboard, I would love a flight that only had 37 passengers aboard.
Yeah.
The Boeing 727 aircraft left Portland on schedule and reached its cruising altitude around 3 p.m. This was when Cooper called over a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner, who had been sitting in the jump seat behind him. He handed the woman a note that indicated he had a bomb in his briefcase and wanted her to sit with him. But his plan didn't go off successfully. Originally, the woman took the note and just, thought he was giving her his number. So she began to, tuck it into her pocket. But before she could walk away, Cooper stopped her and whispered, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb."
Not even subtle about it.
He tried to be.
But then he was
she was immediately she was immediately like, "Thank you." Rejection. he was like, okay.
She's like, you're ugly, bye.
So, when Schaffner opened the note, she immediately began following Cooper's instructions. In neat, all-capital letters, printed with a felt-tip pen. How they know it was a felt-tip pen, I don't know.
It just
I
looked
love
good.
myself some stationery, but not to that extreme.
It was felt tip, and I know this because I'm a collector of felt tip pens.
I could just tell the way that it bled on the paper.
That's
you
the
know?
Stewardess. She's like, I just know, okay?
She's like, I thought it was a felt tip pen. They're like, what's your proof? She's like,
well, it wasn't a fountain tip,
intuition.
was it? Okay.
It wasn't glossy
Those
enough.
are the only two options to her.
But the note read, Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase, and I want you to sit by me.
Okay. Freak.
I'd be like, sir? No.
I'd be like, okay, then show me.
Show me your fucking
And
bomb.
then knock him the fuck out. Proof?
Bitch! Schaefer reluctantly handed the note back to Cooper, who now changed his alias from Dan Cooper to what we all know him as now, D.B. Cooper. So the D still probably stood for Dan, but who knows what B stands for, other than
bitch.
And sat down as he requested. After quietly asking to see the bomb, he opened his briefcase, and she saw 2 rows of 4 red cylinders. Assuming it was dynamite after noticing the cylinders were attached to a wire and a large cylindrical battery. The hijacker quietly closed the briefcase, and the pair began to discreetly write a note with Cooper's demands. In shock, Schaffner took the note to Captain William A. Scott that demanded 2 front parachutes, 2 back parachutes, and $200,000 in $20 bills.
Who the fuck has that money on a plane?
No one. And Cooper didn't give a fuck.
What the hell?
It is presumed that Cooper requested 2 pairs of parachutes as he planned to take a hostage with him.
But why?
Felt like it, you know? After informing the rest of the flight crew of the situation, Scott contacted Northwest Flight Operations in Minnesota. And relayed Cooper's demands. The thoughts of possible hostages dissuaded authorities from providing Cooper with faulty equipment. So originally they were like, fuck it, let him fall.
Yeah.
During the negotiations in the cockpit, another flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, took it upon herself to sit next to Cooper and act as a liaison of sorts. After sitting with Tina for a while, he began to make additional demands. First, upon landing in Seattle, the fuel trucks must meet the plane. Second, all passengers must remain seated while the money was brought on board. Cooper said he would then release the passengers after he had and checked the money. Lastly, the final items brought on board would be the 4 parachutes. Captain Scott relayed this message to air traffic control in Seattle, and soon this airborne heist landed in the hands of both local authorities and the FBI. After agreeing with these demands, Captain Scott informed the passengers on the plane that their arrival in Seattle would be delayed because of a minor mechanical difficulty.
Uh-huh.
And the $200,000 ransom was coordinated by the president of Northwest Orient, Donald Nyrop. Employees were ordered to...
Sorry. Do you know the value of $200 now?
I do not.
Because I feel
off
like
the top
he's
of my
kind
head.
of like lowballing, but maybe not because it's the 70s.
Okay. Today, $200,000 from 1971 would cost about $1.5 million.
Okay, so not lowballing. That's, okay, about $1 million. All right.
Yes, that's a decent number to hijack a plane for, I would
think
say.
He might be going a little high, but okay.
he has priorities.
He has,
you know?
Yeah, he has a plan, I guess.
Employees were ordered by NIROP to comply with Cooper's demands and be cooperative, because he didn't want to start any risky situations that they weren't prepared for.
But they haven't even really proven that he has a bomb.
Exactly. By this time, passengers are starting to get restless, as they've been circling Puget Sound for nearly 2 hours to give the local authorities time to meet Cooper's demands.
Jeez.
In addition to his monetary demands, Cooper refused to let Mucklow leave his side. Mucklow later said that Cooper appeared familiar with the local terrain. Apparently, while looking out the window, he remarked, "Looks like Tacoma down there." At the same time, the aircraft flew above it.
Okay.
She also described his demeanor, saying Cooper was not nervous. He seemed rather nice, and he was not cruel or nasty. And this is a common point amongst other passengers and the remaining flight crew. Not once did Cooper lose his friendly demeanor. And it's because of this attitude that Mucklow chanced chatting with Cooper and asking him why he chose Northwest Airlines to hijack. In response, Cooper actually chuckled and said, "It's not because I have a grudge against your airlines. It's just because I have a grudge."
In general?
In general.
A airline? Grudge against what?
He didn't specify, but we could guess from that statement just airlines.
Okay. Wow, they charged
Cooper
him for his carry-on once, and he got pissed off. And was like, "Give me $1
They
million."
charged He didn't have plans to do this at first, but then they charged him for his whiskey and coke, and he just wasn't having
He's
it.
like, "You know what? Give me $1 million, bitch. I got a bomb." And it's like 2 toilet paper rolls that he's painted red.
With extra charging cords or something from around the house. He then explained that their flight met his time frame and plans. So he didn't really have any necessary intent to go with Northwest Airlines, but it just so happened to work out that way.
Okay.
Cooper then struck up conversation with Mucklow, asking where she was from. The answer she gave is Pennsylvania, but that she was living in Minneapolis at the time. Cooper responded that Minnesota was very nice country. However, when she asked where he was from, he became upset and refused to answer. Once he collected himself, Cooper asked if she smoked and offered her a cigarette. She replied that she had quit, but accepted the cigarette to calm her nerves anyway. Okay. She was like, "You know what?
She's like, if I'm gonna die, I might as well have a cigarette. Goddamn."
I mean, this is the 70s, so she's like, yeah, whatever. Well, on one instance, Cooper partook in conversation with a fellow passenger. In a later interview with FBI agents, this passenger, named George Lisbonaire,
Sure.
It's a very long name, claimed he visited the restroom directly behind Cooper on several occasions. After one trip to the toilet, Lisbonaire said that the center aisle
so many times? Sorry. He has IBS. Or joining
a urinary tract infection.
Or he's jacking it. I don't know.
He was like, "We've been circling fucking Puget Sound for 2.5 hours.
He's like, "I'm horny, I don't care." It's like, okay, fucking, what was his name?
Lisbonaire.
What was his first name? I can't pronounce that. Daniel?
George.
He seems like a George.
George. After one trip to the toilet, George said the center aisle was blocked by an irritated passenger wearing a cowboy hat.
Okay. Yeah.
This passenger was reportedly questioning Mucklow about the quote-unquote mechanical issues delaying them.
So at this point, the passengers don't know what's going on?
No, they have not actually been informed of the real situation.
Oh, okay.
And I assume that was to, not cause mass panic while in the air.
You know what? Sometimes I feel like it's okay to tell the passengers, because then they'll all band together, beat the shit out of the guy, and you'll be fine.
But what if he has a remote set-off device and he's like, fine, fuck all of you, and just all it takes is a press of a button?
I wonder, do you think, you might say this at some point in the future, but is this the reason why there's air marshals on planes now? Or is that because of 9/11?
I believe it was a mixture.
Because, like, this is the 70s, and this is some crazy shit that happened.
This is nearly exactly 30 years before 9/11 happened. Because 9/11 was in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So this could actually be part of it, or there might have been some on before. And we'll kind of roughly cover that in, like, the next paragraph or so.
Okay.
So, after the trip to the toilet, George said the center aisle was blocked by an irritated passenger wearing a cowboy hat. This passenger was questioning Mucklow about the quote-unquote mechanical issues delaying them, and George described that Cooper was amused by the interaction at first, but then became annoyed and ordered the man to return to his seat. But Cowboy Roy over there ignored Cooper
Cowboy
and
Troy,
continued to question.
Texas hit, and I'm rolling with my brothers. Big and rich, go cowboy, go! Okay.
Yes. But nonetheless, Cowboy Troy ignored Cooper and continued to question Mucklow. Eventually, the passenger was persuaded to return to his seat.
Okay.
However, Mucklow's version of the interaction was very different from George's. She said the passenger approached her and asked for a sports magazine to read because he was bored.
Horny. Okay.
They'd been in the air for 2 hours at this point on a flight that was supposed to take 30 minutes.
Show me them Sports Illustrated models, please.
She and the passenger moved to the area directly behind Cooper, where the passenger and she looked for magazines. So apparently on the back of Cooper's seat, there must have been like a magazine rack for entertainment or something. Mm. It's the 70s. They probably don't have fucking movies on the plane, right? Yeah. The passenger decided on a copy of The New Yorker and returned to his seat.
Okay.
Apparently, their magazine selection must have been pretty shitty.
No Sports Illustrated, apparently.
No even, like, ESPN or anything. When Mucklow returned to sit with Cooper, he said, "If that's a sky marshal, I don't want any more of that."
Oh.
So at this time, Cooper's worried that this man was catching on if he was a sky marshal. Uh-huh. And that he was gonna somehow save the day or stop the heist or whatever. I don't know. Despite his brief interaction with Cooper, the cowboy was not interviewed by the FBI and was never identified.
That's interesting.
Right? So, who knows what the true story is with the cowboy passenger? Maybe George was just looking for his 15 minutes of fame. Or maybe he just misunderstood the situation.
Hmm.
Or perhaps, maybe there was more that was meeting the eye with Cowboy Troy. And we just never found out.
Maybe he was another anonymous person doing some other sketchy stuff.
He was like, God fucking damn it, I was gonna hijack
He's
this
like,
plane.
That little girl in my suitcase is probably really hungry. He's like a trafficker. I could see it.
Who fucking knows at this point? Like, this man was flying from Portland to Seattle, and he was wearing a cowboy hat. That alone is suspect.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, sir, you're not leaving from Texas.
Sir, what are
you're
you
in Portland.
Are doing, honestly?
He is the version of a 70s hipster. He's like, it's trendy.
He's like in his city slicker phase.
Yippee-ki-yay. Finally, the ransom was received by the Seattle police. The $200,000 ransom was collected from Seattle First National Bank in a bag that weighed exactly 19 pounds.
Holy shit.
So that's a lot of money. But remember, he wanted it in all $20 bills. The money, consisting of exactly 10,000 unmarked $20 bills, most of which had serial numbers beginning with L, which indicated that they were issued by the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, was photographed on microfilm by the FBI as evidence.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So they photographed these and basically pinged them in a system. So if Cooper did take the money, was able to escape with whatever plan he had brewing in his head, and later use this money,
they would catch him.
He could possibly track him down. The Seattle police then obtained 2 front or reserve parachutes from a local skydiving school and 2 back or main parachutes from a local stunt pilot.
What is a stunt
Captain
pilot?
Scott.
Like the guys that spin around and stuff?
I would assume so. The ones that do, like, flips in the air and shit.
That really need the parachutes in case they had to fucking bail?
Yes. Right. Captain Scott informed Cooper that the parachutes had been delivered to the airport at 5:24 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The plane touched ground not long after at 5:46 p.m. at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Cooper gave the captain permission to park the Boeing 727 aircraft on the partially lit runway that was away from the main terminal. He demanded that a single representative of the airline approach the plane with the parachutes and money, and that the only entrance and exit would be through the aircraft's front door via movable air stairs. Al Lee, Northwest Orient Seattle's operation manager, was chosen to be the courier. While the passengers remained seated, a ground crew attached to the mobile staircase, at Cooper's directive, Mucklow exited the aircraft through the front door and collected the ransom money. After returning, she brought the money bag past the seated passengers to Cooper in the final row. Once the money was in his hands, Cooper allowed the passengers to exit the plane. Around this time, Mucklow jokingly asked Cooper if she could have some money. So she's feeling like they have a connection at this point, right? She's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to ask him if I can have some cash. I just dealt with this for 2.5 hours and I am done.
She's like, you're done.
Surprisingly, Cooper eagerly agreed and handed her a packet of bills.
Say less.
So he was like, okay, you worked for this money.
Yeah.
Take it.
He's like, sure, why not?
But she immediately returned the money and explained accepting gratuities was against company policy. And in reality, she probably did not want to be seen as an accomplice in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
She said, though, that Cooper had tried to tip her and the other 2 flight attendants earlier in the flight with money from his own pockets, but they had each declined, citing the policy.
Okay.
So, yes, Cooper did steal a shit ton of money and hijack an entire aircraft, but at least he was polite.
At least he's not, like, a horrible dude. So far. So far.
We're like, he hijacked a plane,
like,
okay? And
not that bad.
But he's, like, kind of chill.
He's low-key daddy.
This is how you know you live in a capitalistic society, okay? We're like, he's not that bad. He only hijacked a plane.
I mean, at this point, 1, has he killed anyone? 2, has he hurt anyone? 3, is he being mean to people?
No.
So, like, that's all I'm saying.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Right now, we are essentially the equivalent of that TikTok where he's like, he was a great guy.
But what about the murder?
What about the murder?
What murder?
What murder?
Basically.
Once all the passengers were off the plane and only Cooper and the 6 crew members remained on board, Mucklow made 3 trips outside the aircraft to retrieve the parachutes. While Mucklow brought aboard the parachutes, Schaffner asked Cooper if she could retrieve her purse, stored in a compartment behind his seat. Cooper agreed and jokingly replied, "I won't bite you."
Okay.
The most 40-year-old white man saying you can imagine.
I'm like,
Cooper.
sir, that makes me think you're gonna bite me even more.
Another flight attendant, Alice Hancock, then asked Cooper if the flight attendants could leave, and Cooper replied, "Whatever you girls would like."
Oh, okay, work.
At which Hancock and Schaffner bolted off the plane. When Mucklow brought the final parachute to Cooper, she gave him printed instructions for using the parachutes, but Cooper said he didn't need them.
Oh, okay.
He was very confident. There was, however, a problem with the refueling process that caused a delay, resulting in a second truck and then a third being brought to the plane to complete the refueling. Throughout the delay, Cooper complained the money was delivered in a cloth bag instead of a knapsack like he asked. And he now had to improvise a new way to transport the money.
Okay.
So, when D.B. Cooper asks you to bring his money to him in a knapsack, and you bring it in a
He means like a
cloth
hobo
bag,
knapsack, like on a stick, wrapped up. He wants to walk away with it on the train tracks, like a hobo.
You see, you're thinking that. I'm thinking Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he wanted to fling that shit over his shoulder, and now he has to carry it in his hands
Well,
like a 9-year-old
that's more
grandma,
what
and
it
he's
would
not
be
happy.
like, because he wanted $200,000, but didn't you say they only gave him $10,000?
No, they gave him exactly 10,000 $20 bills.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so he had all of his money. Cooper then, using a pocket knife, cut the canopy from one of the reserve parachutes and stuffed some of the money into the empty parachute. So, clearly he's handy. A real DIYer, if you will.
I smell military.
You smell military. I smell possible former military pilot.
That's what I'm... Or special ops or something.
Well, you see, military pilot is what I'm thinking.
Well, he knows how to use parachutes.
While in the air...
Yep.
While in the air, he correctly identified the location of an Air Force base 20 miles away.
Okay, yeah.
From where they were in the air.
Yeah.
He's like, yup, don't need you to tell me how to use a parachute. And then there's gonna be more things that he says later on that could coincide with that.
Okay.
While on the ground, an FFA official requested a face-to-face meeting with Cooper, but he politely denied the request.
He was like, no thanks.
He's like, I'm good. My seat's kind of comfy and I don't feel like moving.
He's like, I'm comfortable. Sorry.
He's like, no thank you, and don't step on my plane. Bye.
Doodles.
He did eventually become impatient, though, exclaiming, "This shouldn't take so long, and let's get this show on the road."
Ooh. He's getting a little spicy now.
He's like, okay, come on, what the fuck? Then, he gave the cockpit crew his flight plan and instructions.
Why do they call it
They were
cockpit?
to take... Because it's typically cocks in that pit.
Dude,
How many female pilots do you know?
I gotta tell you something. I have to pause the story for a second because I need to confide in the listeners and you about this thing that I experienced on an airplane. Okay. So, I was on my way to Florida with my aunt. We were going to Disney. I was 21.
Yes.
And let me just tell you, I saw the co-pilot come out, right? And I was like, oh, okay, he's just going to the bathroom. He was in the bathroom for a really long time. And during that time that he was in the bathroom, the flight attendant went into the cockpit and was in there for a very long time. And I watched, because I had nothing to do. It was 6:30 in the morning. Of course, I'm going to be that nosy bitch. So I watched, and I timed her. Like, I literally set a timer on my phone. She was in there for 15 minutes. She came out. Her hair was fucked up. Her lipstick was fucked up. And then as soon
she was given that sloppy toppy.
As soon as she came out, she knocked on the bathroom door, and the co-pilot came out and went back into the cockpit.
Okay, real talk though, I did some research on this because I'm a nosy bitch myself, and pilots are among the top cheaters in like big professions.
Makes so much sense. So much sense.
And he totally put that in autopilot, and they got a little freaky.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, this isn't professional.
You're like, wow, multitasking.
I was like, if I die, I'm gonna be pissed if it's because some bitch's mouth was on my pilot's cock. I was like, I'm fucking pissed. Sorry if you heard my fucking crunching of a Ziploc bag that I keep my makeup in.
We classy over here. Back to DB Cooper.
I just...
Who was not sucking dick in the cockpit.
Now that would have added to the story.
At least on this flight.
That would have added to the story, I think.
Write some fanfic.
DB Cooper
style.
fanfic! Do you think that exists?
Who fucking knows? I mean, didn't Shane and Ryan call him, like, Daddy or something?
Daddy Cooper? I don't know.
Daddy Cooper. What does Shane call him? Like, the hero of the sky or some bullshit. So,
wonderful.
DB Cooper, back to it. His instructions explained that they were to take a southeast course towards Mexico City at the minimum airspeed possible without stalling the aircraft, at a maximum 10,000 foot altitude. Cooper also demanded that the landing gear remain deployed, that the flight wings flaps must be lowered to 15 degrees, and the cabin must remain unpressurized so he wouldn't be forcefully sucked out when they opened the cabin door.
So he definitely has knowledge of airplanes.
Yes.
That's quite obvious.
He either did hella research on his own to do this, or he has previous flying experience.
I feel like this is the type of scenario where you have to actually know.
Yes. Or he's just like a genius and had too much time on his hands.
Or, you know what?
Who knows?
Maybe he had, like, a fixation on airplanes or something.
Yeah. Who knows? However, Cooper was informed that these demands required the aircraft to stop for a second refueling before entering Mexico. After discussing options and agreeing on Reno Tahoe International Airport as the refueling stop, Cooper then directed the plane to take off with the rear exit door open and its air stair extended.
Oh.
Northwest's home office objected, saying that that was unsafe, but Cooper disagreed, saying it can be done, so do it.
So he knows.
He totally knows. And if he was a pilot with the Air Force, or even a helicopter pilot.
That's true.
There are plenty of instances where those doors are open.
And people jump out.
Exactly. He also demanded that Mucklow remain aboard to assist the operation.
Why is she obsessed with this woman? He needs to leave her alone.
Yes, but she did say he was not threatening.
Yeah, but he's, like, being annoying
He's
now.
like, she is my friend, and I would like her there.
This is my
Thank
thunder
you.
buddy.
Mark Wahlberg. Always have my heart. At around 7:40 p.m.
Mark Wahlberg.
Elijah knows that my celebrity crush is Mark Wahlberg.
Mike Wahlberg.
Mike Wahlberg.
Mike Wazowski.
No, he knows that my celebrity crush is Mark Wahlberg. So anytime I'm like, let's watch Daddy's Home, he's like, you just want to watch that for Mark Wahlberg. And I'm like, yes and no. At around 7:40 p.m., the aircraft took off again, this time with only Cooper, Mucklow, Captain Scott, First Officer Rex Zack, and Flight Engineer Harold E. Anderson aboard. However, 2 F-106 fighters from McChord Air Force Base and a Lockheed T-33 trainer departed from an unrelated Air National Guard mission and followed Cooper's aircraft. The 3 jets maintained S flight patterns to stay hidden behind the slow-moving 727 and out of D.B. Cooper's view. Not long after takeoff, Cooper ordered Mucklow to lower the staircase, but she told him and the flight crew she feared being sucked out of the aircraft. The remaining crew suggested she come to the cockpit and retrieve an emergency rope so she could tie herself to a seat and alleviate her fear.
What?
Cooper refused this suggestion.
He's confident.
Stating he did not want her going up front or the flight crew coming back to the cabin. However, Mucklow continued to express her fear and begged him to cut some cord from one of the parachutes to create a safety line for her. Fed up with this pushback on his plan and annoyed that he was behind schedule, Cooper said he would lower the damn staircase himself. He then instructed Mucklow to go to the cockpit, close the curtain partition between coach and first class, and not return.
Okay.
Mucklow told investigators that she begged Cooper to take the bomb with him, and that Cooper responded he would either disarm it or take it with him because at this point, it's clear that he plans to jump out of the moving plane.
Okay.
Not after refueling in Arizona. Now. As Mucklow fled to the cockpit and closed the curtain partition, she saw Cooper standing in the aisle tying the money bag around his waist. Mucklow remained in the cockpit for the rest of the flight and was the last person to see Cooper. At 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit, indicating the staircase had been deployed. The pilot used the cabin intercom to ask Cooper if he needed assistance, but Cooper's last message was a one-word reply. No.
Oh, yeah.
This is when the crew's ears popped from the drop in cabin air pressure from the stairs being opened. A few minutes later, at 8:13 p.m., the tail section of the aircraft suddenly pitched upwards. This forced the pilots to return the aircraft to level flight. Co-pilot Bill Radazak said the sudden upward pitch occurred when the flight was near the suburbs north of Portland. The flight crew remained in the cockpit and was unsure if Cooper was still aboard the aircraft. Mucklow used the cabin intercom to inform Cooper that they were approaching Reno, and he needed to raise the stairs so the plane could land safely. She repeated her requests as the pilots made the final approach to land, but there was no response. At 11:02 p.m., with the staircase still deployed, the aircraft landed at Reno Tahoe International Airport. FBI agents, state troopers, sheriff's deputies, and Reno police surrounded the aircraft, fearing the hijacker and the bomb were still aboard. They did not approach the plane. Captain Scott then searched the plane, confirmed Cooper was no longer aboard, and after a 30-minute search, an FBI bomb squad declared the cabin safe. Various items that Cooper brought aboard the plane remained in the cabin. But where had Cooper gone, and what happened to him after jumping out of the aircraft? But the most important question still remains unanswered today. Who is D.B. Cooper? That, my friends, is a question we're going to try and answer in one of our next episodes. Because unexpectedly, this one turned into a two-parter. I was not expecting to get this much information on the hijacking alone, and now I can't wait to see what I dig up when it comes to possible suspects and theories of what happened to Cooper after his jump.
Yeah, there's probably a ton.
There is a shit ton. But before I wrap this one up, I want to know if Nat has any thoughts.
I mean, I feel like I've kind of been sharing my thoughts throughout the whole thing. My theory so far is it's definitely somebody who has some type of military background, or at least airplane background. But yeah, no, it makes sense that it's like military, airplane, like Air Force, or something like that. But other than that,
I personally love the Air Force experience theory, because not only did he seem to have uncanny knowledge of flight procedure and how to operate and exit an airplane with parachutes, he treated everyone with a very high amount of respect.
but also
which is common for people in the Air Force and military.
Yeah, but what's interesting for me is that I feel like technology changes a lot throughout the years. And I feel like parachutes could change with, like, safety features, or, I don't know, it just seems like the information that he had was, like, relevant for the time, but he was, like, 40-something. So,
Yep.
I don't know, it just seems really interesting to me.
And one point that I do want to bring up before I end this episode is that when asked why he picked that flight, Cooper said he didn't have a grudge against Northwest Airlines. He just had a grudge.
Yeah.
So, could he have been dishonorably discharged from the Air Force?
I don't know. Did they say what kind of accent he had?
They didn't say that he had one at all.
But, I mean, you have to have an accent. No matter where you are, you have an accent. Even if we don't really sound like we have an accent to other people. You know?
He must have been local to wherever the flight took off, which was Portland, Oregon, or where a lot of the flight attendants are originally from. So this is Northwest Orient Airlines. Whoop! Hear my little pin drop. Northwest Orient Airlines. So he must have been from the Northwest in some capacity. Because his accent didn't ring any alarms. But yeah, I had a lot of fun researching this one, and I can't wait to do the next part.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee if that's going to be the next episode, because I'm going on vacation, Nat's going on vacation, and you might get some just, like, kind of fun, less researchy episodes in between. But
we'll see.
We promise either way, DB Cooper Part 2 will be worth the wait.
And it'll bring us around the time when we really get into some good stuff, so.
Yes, some very good stuff.
I look gross. This lipstick, not a good choice. It's bleeding all over my face.
That's cute. To stay up to date on all things Wading into the Void, like when DB Cooper Part 2 is going to come out, you can follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Wading into the Void, and if you're looking for a new way to support the show, our research efforts, and fuel our passion for the paranormal, true crime, and everything mysterious, you can find us on Patreon by searching Wading into the Void. Any amount helps us continue to produce content for our show, and we'll be eternally grateful if you do decide to support us. Until next time, Phantom Fam, let's keep it simple. Don't demand $200,000 from your flight attendants. They're already stressed out enough.
Where are they going to get that money from?
They don't make that much in tips. Oh, right. They can't take them. Don't tell the pilots how to do their job. And, most importantly, don't randomly fling yourself out of a moving airplane, D.B. Cooper style, even if he's kind of cool. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.